Hey guys! So I wanted to spend some time and kind of talk through my process behind the album that I made recently, Growing Up. My first album, the ideas and the concepts and the reason that I titled it Growing Up, and how all of the songs I feel like worked kind of in that direction. Because if you listen to the album on its own, it feels a little bit all over the place, like stylistically and maybe even thematically. It's kind of like a little here, a little here, a little here, to the point where it could be kind of jolting. I've had people ask me like, oh, what genre do you do? And I'm like, I don't really know what to peg it, because it's constantly different. Actually, the reason for that, though, one of the reasons was, as I'm kind of growing up and as I'm trying to find my style and my sound and what that is, it's taken a lot of different shapes. So in a different kind of way, it kind of complements the whole concept of growing up. But the reason I titled it Growing Up was I felt like all of the songs that I was writing, all of the topics that I was hitting on, were all wrapping around this concept of the things that I've been learning as I've been growing out of childhood into an adulthood, and making those tough decisions and asking questions and thinking through things and processing through different situations and things that happen in life, because life is not easy. I titled it Growing Up. Originally, I had a song titled Growing Up that I was going to have in the album, and it was going to be track one. Kind of this happy, energetic, fast-paced kind of song talking about, like, I miss the days when I spent all my free time climbing trees and things like that. But as I was working with it, I just didn't like it as much, so I dropped it. I kind of kicked it off the album. But yeah, so the first song that I put in the album was titled Turn Back the Clock. Originally, when I was writing this song, I titled it Reverse, and the whole concept stemmed from I spent a night kind of experimenting with recording a acoustic guitar track and playing it backwards, so it kind of had this like kind of sound, and it was really cool. And so I was trying to take that concept of that sound and use it in a song and write lyrics that kind of reflected that in some like artistic kind of fashion. So originally I titled it Reverse, and I was trying to write to, like, if I could live my life in reverse, or if I could take back things that I've done, I'd be a very different man today, and the regrets that we all have in life, because hindsight is 20/20, right? And so as I was writing more, and that kind of took shape into this super energetic kind of album, I titled it Turn Back the Clock, and that was just a really great way to start the album. And I started it with kind of that intro kind of thing, like where it has that acoustic guitar backwards track. If you listen closely, you can hear it. It just says, like, there ain't no going backwards, there's only looking up, the past is just a chapter and the story's just begun. That's what I've found ringing true through all of the stuff that I've been doing, is that, you know, there's a story being written. It's just cool taking a step back and seeing that. So the next song was Be Mine. Originally, I wrote this song a couple years back for the Holiday Boys as like a comedic Valentine's Day song, and I changed up some of the lyrics. So originally it was written in kind of like this comedy stalker kind of fashion, where verse 2 kind of takes a turn and you're like, hold on, what's going on? But I liked the song so much, I was like, this is just a fun, cheerful song. I wanted to make like a straightforward, happy version to it. So I wrote that and I put it in the album. It doesn't specifically dig into deep issues of growing up, but I mean, this whole concept of love and romance and the pursuit, you know, like that all is a part of growing up. That's another thing that we all kind of wrestle through and we have to figure out. So that's why I thought it fit nicely in the album. All right, number 3, If I Was Rapping. Now this song is just completely random. It's hardly even a song. I don't know if I could rightly even call it a song. It was written in a day, less than a day. It was a couple hours, and it was recorded, and we made a video and everything. It was the intro to Nacho Blanco, who is a friend of mine named Nathaniel. One Sunday after church, him and I were just hanging out, and I was like, Nathaniel, can I make you a rapper? Like, this would just be so fun. I've known him my whole life. He's a lot of things, but a rapper is not one of those things. We spent an afternoon, and we were talking about different ideas, and eventually the reason we made it so short is we thought it was kind of even funnier to represent this hype rap kind of genre that starts out with a whole bunch of hype and it just dies, because that's all it was. It was this intro of announcing something, and they was just like, if I was rapping, I wouldn't. We laughed a lot about that. It got so popular, actually. A lot of our friends just were talking about it and laughing about it that became enough of a joke that we were like, we gotta make an actual song. And that's where Privilege comes in later on the album, but I'll get to that. Number 4, Raindrops. Raindrops is actually my most popular song. And there's actually some really interesting story to that. I want to do a different video where I dig into all of the stuff that went into Raindrops, because it's actually a pretty cool story. But I really liked this song because I felt like it was simple, it was calm, and it just spoke to an encouragement to when life gets rough and when the storms roll in, be it small inconveniences in life or the deep, hard situations where your life changes. And it was just an encouraging song to just be like, even when the rain keeps falling and I'm standing in the mud, I'll be keeping my head up. That's that mentality that we all struggle with clinging to. That's an attitude we need to have in life, but it's not the natural one to have. And that's why this song, I love it so much, is just because it's an encouragement. This song isn't written because I'm the best at keeping my head up when life gets rough. It was written so that I could be encouraged when life did get rough. And that's why I loved it in the album. Going from then, the next song is Time. Time was the first song that I wrote that was like a legitimate, serious, deep song. I wrote it probably a year or more before the album even came out. It was the first deep song that I wrote. Verse 2 was actually about some friends that I had that died in a car accident, and that just got me thinking about this whole concept of the suddenness of death and how no one knows when their time is, and how that should change the way we live our life. And again, it's just another deep concept that I've had to wrestle with as I'm growing up, asking those questions, making those decisions. And so the song kind of moves in a direction where it's like, okay, so I'm going to live my life remembering the people that have gone, not so I'm just dwelling on the past, but so their story can live on, and that I'm going to live my life differently, remembering that I don't know how much time I have left. Because none of us do. And originally when I made it, the reason it says second edition is because I kind of changed up some of the style and stuff. I just made some improvements, and I thought I wanted to do the song a little bit more justice than my abilities were when I first recorded it. So the next song is Addiction and Integrity. Now this song I wrote in like a night or like 24 hours. I wrote it pretty quick, but I had the concept for the song for probably a couple years, actually. It was a topic that I really wanted to write about because it's something that I am passionate about, and I feel like I struggle with that tension between feeding an addiction that you have and living your life with integrity, being the same person behind closed doors that you are when you're out in public, and that person, that face that you're trying to give off, are you actually that person? I wrote a bunch of different ideas for it, and then finally I hit this idea and I just wrote it all out and recorded it and made some small tweaks, but I just love the song a lot because it gets real. It's not just about, hey, yeah, when life gets rough, I'm gonna keep my head up. It's like a step deeper. It's like saying, I struggle with this tension. I struggle with things. I've got crap in my life that I've got to figure out, and we all do. And every day you have to make that decision between whether you're going to be filled with addiction or you're going to live your life with integrity. That's something that I really felt passionate about, and I'm really happy with how the song came out. So the next song is Wait For You. I had the lick on the guitar written probably a year before I had any lyrics written. I kept being like, this is garbage, these lyrics just don't work. I just kept writing ideas, and I was just like, this is garbage, and throwing them out. And you know, the writer's process where you're just like, I hate that and I hate that, and that's just not good. So eventually the lyrics took shape and Wait For You came into existence. I like the song a lot because, you know, it's kind of that low-key, sappy, romantic kind of song, but it's also just very real to me. It's kind of like in the struggle of relationships and that whole world where everyone's writing songs about things, and you're kind of like, well, where do I fit in that? What do I do? This is kind of the mentality that I've been taking on as I've been growing up, that I'm like, hey, you know what, I just want to be a little bit more intentional about the things that I'm doing. So yeah, that was kind of the motivator behind the song. Also, I was just thinking, and I was like, every musician that exists ever writes songs about love or romance. Like, that's just the thing to do as a musician. And I was like, I don't have something to write about, so what do I do? And then I was like, well, that right there is something to write about. And so that's where Wait For You came into existence. So the next song is Story of a Man. Honestly, I didn't know what to call this song. I had some ideas, and I was like, there's just nothing. You know, maybe you've written a song where you're just like, there's no specific point I land on that makes a good title. So you just have to think through different ideas. A Story of a Man is the title that I landed on. And originally when I wrote it in an evening because I was just thinking about the style of like Johnny Cash style writing and songs. And I was like, I bet I could write a song in the style of Johnny Cash. And so I wrote it almost like as a joke at first. Like I was just like, I just want to see what I could do, and I just wrote a bunch of stuff out. But I really liked the way it took shape, and as I was recording it and working on it, I decided to put kind of my own style on it and not just have like a guitar and like a deep voice singing the song. I wanted to kind of put my own flavor on it, and it really came into a nice completion when my friend Kayla put some vocals on it and just gave it that final touch it needed. So yeah, that's the story behind that. Okay, so the next song is Privilege, the song that I mentioned, the actual full-on song, the follow-up to the Nacho Blanco saga, if you will. After we made If I Was Rappin', which was like in like April, come like August, we were still joking about it. It was still like the best thing ever. And so I was like, Nathaniel, we gotta make an actual song. We gotta like take on the haters and prove that we could, you know, you could be an actual rapper and make a legitimate song. And so that was what happened. I wrote it over the like couple months throughout the summer, just piecing a little bit here and there. And I made the song and taught him how to rap because he had no sense of rhythm. Because that's just not his thing, which made it awesome. Recorded the song, we filmed the video, and that was the most fun project of my summer last year. It was the best. I loved it so much. And what does that have to do with growing up specifically? Nothing, but it was so much fun, and I was like, this song has to be on the album. It's like in the spirit of the album with all of the intense stuff that's going on and the deep topics. It's nice to just have like a step back, a breath of fresh air, and just something that's just catchy and fun and just ridiculous. So that's Privilege. And will Nacho Blanco do other stuff? I don't know. I would love it if we did. We'll just have to see what happens. So that means the last song is titled Yesterday, the last song on the album. I wrote this knowing that it was going to be the last track. I wanted it to kind of be the big finish in the album. Kind of taking a step back and just being like, this is honestly what growing up, what the album is all about. The big picture is about every day I have the opportunity to be a better man than I was yesterday. And that growing up is something that doesn't just happen once. You're not just specifically grown up, it's a process. Like, I'm still growing up, and I think that's something I want the album to really hit on is this isn't just stuff that I learned in the past and it's stuff in the past, it's that I'm still in this process of growing up and learning things and making choices and taking in information and wisdom and experience and life experience, and that's why I just love that song Yesterday, especially as that big finish. It's kind of got that anthemic kind of vibe, and it's just talking about the past has been written, there's no making changes, but the future is history that hasn't hit the pages. That recurring line in the song is because I wanted that to be the point that's kind of driven home in the whole album, is that looking back, you can't change what happened in the past. It's been written, you can't change it. But the future is the story that you have the power to control. You have the power to write that story and make those decisions each day to continue to grow up and to become the man or the woman that God has called you to be. Be a better person tomorrow than you were yesterday. That's kind of the big overarching concept to the album, and that's why I wrote Yesterday the way I did. Also, if you happen to purchase a CD, you may have noticed that there is one additional track on the CD that wasn't listed anywhere else. And the reason for that is just because it was a fun song that I wrote one night because I couldn't sleep, and so I wrote it, and I was like, it'll be a fun little surprise on the CD. So if you've never heard it, I'm not going to say anything else, just go buy the CD because you should listen to the song. So that's some of the backstory behind growing up. Like I said, it is kind of all over the place, but I hope this video kind of helped break down and helped communicate where I was coming from and all the different songs that I wrote. The future's bright. It'll only get better from here. I'm looking forward to other stuff that I'm writing and making and what'll happen down the road. So thanks for watching this video. Thanks for sticking with me. And yeah, I'm as excited as you are about what else is going to take shape. So yeah, have a good one, guys. No product placement. I was not paid enough to be sponsored by anyone.